Live from Honolulu, Hawaii, it's Baptiz By Fire. And here's your host, Justin Baptiz.
Welcome back to another episode of Baptiz By Fire, Conversations with Justin, where we dive into the stories, struggles, and triumphs of our incredible guests. And I'm your host, Justin Baptiz. And we are here with a very special guest, one of the most talented, most incredible artists in the jazz, soul, R&B realm. It's a pleasure to have this wonderful artist with me here, and I'm so looking forward to this interview, and I'm looking forward to getting to know a little bit more about you and about your wonderful career. We are here with South African, New Zealand singer, songwriter, and guitarist, Andréa Lisa. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Most definitely. Good to see you. I know that we were just talking briefly off camera, but I'm so excited for you. You know, you're coming back out to Hawaii. It's your second time. You'll be performing at the Aloha Jazz Festival on Hilton Hawaiian Village. Tell us about that upcoming event. I know you're excited to come back to Hawaii. How excited is that for you? And what are you most looking forward to that performance?
Oh yeah, that's going to be super cool. I know there's some really dope artists on the whole lineup. Um, I think the dates are like around the 20 something of August, and I think it's like a couple of days, 2 or 3 days long. And I heard it's going to be like quite a nice resort where everything is being held. And I'm definitely going to be probably staying an extra day or two to just kind of hang out. So yeah, definitely looking forward to being back there. The last time I was there was quite a while ago. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned that this is your second time in Hawaii.
hmm
What do you remember about just being in Hawaii and how do you like it?
The vibes, I remember the vibes were good. Yeah. It was a while, and I think I was only there for like 2 days. So it was a quick little stop off and just hang and, be around the beach, eat some good food and just roam the streets. I was with my band. Yeah. And I think, yeah, I didn't really do too much, just kind of hung out near the beach and ate some good food and stuff. Yeah, but the vibes were good and the weather was beautiful.
I'm glad that you had a wonderful time since you've been to the islands. Is there anything that you want to do specifically? I know that you've been here before, but is anything that you want to do specifically since you're going to probably have a little bit more, a couple of
Mhm.
days out here?
I would love to go out and do some nature things, maybe a walk somewhere or a hike. Just see, like, I'm really like a nature girl. I like to just hang out there. I'm not like, trying to do a really hard hike or anything like that, but I'm down to, go at the top of a mountain or something like that and yeah, just check out the views.
Okay, well, since I'm in Hawaii, I can probably suggest a couple of recommendations for you. Uh,
Cool.
if you like nature, definitely got to go to Ho'omaluhia Botanical Gardens.
Mm,
Got to check out that spot. And if you like the views, Lani Kai Pillbox Trail is another good one.
okay, cool. Super cool.
Yeah. But as I mentioned, you know, I'm excited for you to be coming out to Hawaii and I'm looking forward to your performance that you have here. Um, but just diving into your you know, career and just who you are as a person. You know, you're born in South Africa, raised in New Zealand. Um, both places are just rich in culture and musical influence in probably a lot of ways.
hmm
But having those roots, obviously, you know, how have they been such a big part of just not only yourself, but for the music side as well?
I feel like my South African roots it's just in me, you know, the rhythm. South African people, I think from the time that you can move as a little baby, it's like dancing is like a part of our culture. So I didn't really spend too much of my time. I spent about 7 years in South Africa and then migrated to New Zealand. And I feel like my cultures are definitely combined between the New Zealand culture and the South African culture because I've been back to visit South Africa quite a few times. And I feel like when I would see my cousins out there, they would tell me that I was like different, you know, after spending all that time in New Zealand. So it's like in both places, I'm like not quite fully immersed into because it's really like a blend of both cultures for me. But musically, I don't know how New Zealand music has impacted my sound, but I feel like it has in some way, in its own way. I feel like it's more of a spiritual connection to self and just who I am and the way that I came up in New Zealand. That is my connection to my music. But yeah, it's just kind of like a blend, really.
And when you speak about the two, was the transitioning process hard for you, or was it, a smooth thing?
It was very smooth. The moment we moved to New Zealand, I absolutely loved it. I loved going like from the time I went to school in New Zealand. For me, it was very enjoyable. Whereas in South Africa, school was like more of a strict, you know, whole situation. You had to have these full-on uniforms and everything was just more hardcore. And in New Zealand, it was more of like a chill vibe, more my vibe. Yeah. So it was very easy for me to move to New Zealand. Yeah. The transition was, yeah, very smooth. There was actually a moment when we moved back to South Africa for like a year because um my mum wanted to go back to South Africa. So we moved back, and that was a tough year because I had already had the experience of doing school in New Zealand and then going back into this other environment that I just did not vibe with. So yeah, I enjoyed school in New Zealand and I enjoyed just the nature of the way that they ran the schools. And also there was so many options like from quite a young age, they offer a whole lot of extracurricular activities. So that was really appealing to me. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned about the two places. I'm sure it's kind of hard to pick and choose what's the
Hmm.
favorite spot to go to, right? Because you've been in two different places.
Yeah, for sure. Both places have my heart, really. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about your journey in music. I know at the age of 15 is when you started to fully find yourself in music and fully start
Hmm.
developing things. I believe you were also writing your own music at the age of 15 as well, right?
Hmm. Yeah. That's really like I started playing the guitar when I was 14 and really not long after I was experimenting with songs and lyrics and that all just felt very natural to me.
Yeah, when was that realization? And you briefly summed on that. But what was that realization? You started at such an early age and got you to where you're at right now. So what was it about that time that got you interested in music?
I definitely felt a connection to the guitar pretty much immediately when I started playing the guitar. And I don't really think I was thinking about it too much in like for like the future. But a couple of years, I think when I was about, I might have been 17 or 18 in my last year of high school, um, the jazz university visited my school and they performed for us and they were kind of showcasing the um the jazz school. And I remember just feeling like, oh dang, I was just like was really into it. I used to play classical guitar when I first like really started studying the guitar. And hearing this jazz band, I was like, I want to do that. And I was actually like I was really into music the moment I started playing and practicing and writing and all of that. But I always had plans to go and study like I was going to study biology, which is kind of random. But the moment I heard that band playing, I was like, I'm going to do that. And I just decided kind of halfway, I think it was more than halfway through the year, I just decided that's what I'm going to do. And I just went through with it, did the audition and got through went to university to study. I majored in guitar and minored in vocals. So I studied two instruments at university. Yeah.
So knowing that you found your love for music at such an early age, when you look back on just your career, how happy are you with your journey? I mean, knowing that, you picked a career in music and probably would have done something else had it not been music.
I definitely feel like music chose me. It wasn't really, at some point, it was just like, yeah, this is what I have to do. And once I was in university, I was like completely 100% dedicated. And I have been ever since. It's all a journey. It's definitely not all roses along the way. There's been some really tough times over the years. And it's just something that I've dedicated myself to. And I think that that's what it really is. It's like even touring, it's like you travel across wherever, the country or the world, to perform for a group of people. And sometimes it's like quite a journey to get to wherever you're going. And then all of a sudden you're in this room and these people are sitting there waiting for you to play. And you do that. And then after that, it's like you've got to get up at whatever time in the morning to fly out to the next show or to fly back home or whatever. It's all just a journey. I feel like I've been prepared for a lot of my opportunities that have come to me. And all I can say is that it's a winding journey, ups and downs, but beautiful all in all. Yeah.
With your success in music, is there anything that you wish you would have known?
Many, many. But I would say that the only way that one learns these things is through doing them. So even when someone gives advice about something, it still kind of feels like you still got to go through it. But yeah, I think, you know, probably one of the things would be, when you're younger and you just think that the one moment is going to change your life, realizing that that's not really the case. It's just a whole lot of moments that ultimately lead you to the next chapter. And then there's a whole lot of moments that lead you to the next level. It's just all levels. I feel like even when I reach some kind of place, there's still going to be another place to keep going. It's like you get to the top of one mountain and then you look and you're like, oh, there's another one. So, yeah.
Now, with your success in music, you blended a lot of jazz and R&B and a lot of soul music in your career. How would you describe your sound if anybody got to either heard of you or just been around you in your career in music?
I would say like it's always going to be soulful and it's always going to be intentional and heartfelt, whether it's a fast song or a slow song or whatever it is. That's really the way that I would describe it because genres are kind of crazy to me. And I feel like even though I feel like I'm kind of rooted in soul, jazz, R&B, there's still other genres that I dabble in that kind of creep in to certain songs. And even in my vault of songs that I have, I've got a whole lot of other genres going on. So it's very hard to define my music in like one box, or two, because I feel like there's a lot going on. So I like to just say that it's soulful and it's yeah, and then it's going to be groovy, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm quite curious, you mentioned about the jazz and the R&B and the soul. Are there any of the genres that you've picked up on that you like as well? And I know that
Mhm.
you're a guitarist. Are there any other instruments that you like?
Mhm. There are. So I play a little bit of bass. I've recorded some bass on my album on a couple of songs. And genre-wise, I mean I play like a little bit of keys, but I would never really, yeah, I'm not really much of a keys player, but I get by on a few things when I'm recording. But yeah, I would say mostly just bass is like the other instrument that I dabble in. Um, and genre-wise, I really love singer-songwriter, alternative music. You know, I also love deep house, soulful house, tribal house. That's really like a another thing that comes from my South African roots is a lot of a lot of people love house music. So I have a little bit of that in my vault of songs, and at some point people will hear that side of me. So I'm looking forward to sharing that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that too, how you blend the two together and what
Hmm.
um it's been known about your music that it's healing and just a wealth of just groovy music, as you mentioned just now. How do you feel your music has been uplifting or healing and groovy to just people out there? Like, of course, it's supposed to have a deeper meaning to it, but how do you feel your music has been so special to people out there?
Well, I feel that whenever I'm writing lyrics, I never just kind of find words that are gonna rhyme with the last sentence or anything like that. I'm always singing from experience, and I always try and bring the uplifting energy into all of my music, even if it's a song that sings about heartbreak. I'm gonna try and bring it into some kind of healing or positivity. And also, I feel that if I'm playing instrumental or any kind of chord or melody, it's just the intention that I'm putting into it when I record. It's more of a spiritual moment. And because I feel like that can be captured. So if I'm recording my music, I always make sure that I'm in a good space or in a space that is going to be positive to be embedded into the song. So that's the way that I do it, and it's with intention.
Yeah, which leads into my next question. Your debut album, Silver Lining. When you look back just on that, how special was that for you to have a debut album? And also, when you look back on that album, how do you feel it represents you and your career?
I feel like I feel very proud of that album, and I feel that it represents who I am in a way where it's not all instrumental, it's not all vocal, and it also has quite a blend as well within the album. And yeah, I feel like I wanted to make sure that this first album was just the core of me, which is jazz, R&B. And that's the kind of the songs that I put on there. I felt like it was important to be mindful and intentional about the messages that I was putting out as well. Because I have a lot of songs, so choosing the songs was like quite important. And the reason why it's named Silver Lining is because I always wanted to produce my own album as well. I do have one other producer on there, a guy named Gordon Campbell, who produced with me on three of the tracks. But I knew that I wanted to be the executive producer of the album. And when I was talking about, working on my album before I started really getting into it, I was kind of told that's not a good idea. You should have a different producer. You should have someone who, that's what they do. And that just didn't really sit well with me. So I ended up still going ahead and being the producer, and I feel like it turned out really cool and seems like people really dig it. So yeah, I feel like it's a really good representation of me because at the end of the day, if somebody else produces your music, and I understand that some people do need to get a producer, but I feel like if you can, that's going to be an even deeper representation of who you are, as opposed to somebody else's ideas and somebody else's rhythms and melodies. I feel like it's like when if you were to have a baby and then you've got this baby, but then you just hand it over to somebody else to put clothes on and to feed food and knowledge and information. It's like, but it's your baby, you know? So that's kind of the way that I feel about my music. And even if I do want to work with a producer, I feel like I need to make that decision with who that producer is going to be because there's a reason why I'm going with that producer because I feel like that person has the capabilities and the skills to add to the baby, you know, in a collaborative way that aligns with me and my intentions, my message, and my sound. So
And looking back on just the debut album and your success in your career, do you feel there's any song that maybe you should have or would have put in on the album? And looking back, where have you seen the changes in music, and has there been much of any differences?
I feel like, I don't know, music kind of recycles itself. You know, it's like every few years, it's like you start hearing a sound that comes back. You know, it's like when you listen to Bruno's album, you can hear the Isley Brothers, you know. Or when you listen to The Weeknd, you can hear like a 80s. There's been this 80s comeback over the last few years that people have just totally teenagers are like, oh yeah, like we love this, but it's like we've already heard the 80s sound and it's just coming back. It's like fashion as well, you know. We were wearing skinny jeans 2 years ago and now everyone's wearing big, huge jeans like my older siblings used to wear, you know, when I was growing up. But yeah, music is always changing. So I personally feel like just making music for yourself is ultimately the the best way for me. And just I just feel like my audience will find me, you know, whoever vibes with it will vibe with it. And I feel like a lot of people have got a broad like listening spectrum, you know. Some people think that they only like one genre, but then they listen to something else and then they kind of like it, or they don't, or it's all subjective. Yeah. But I feel like the songs that I chose for the album, at the end of the day, at some point you gotta just do it. And I feel really good about how it came out and I probably would change like one or two tiny little things, but like I said earlier, I feel like you never know those things until you can't like learn a lesson, you know, if you don't go through it. So no regrets.
Now, I can't forget to mention about your single Vortex. It's a popular track. It's been all over the world on Billboard charts and whatnot. Talk about that song and what that means to you and representation of you and your career.
So that was a song that was inspired by there's this lady called Abraham Hicks who is a spiritual teacher and she speaks about the vortex. It's really a space that you're either in or not and like you can come in and out of it and it's just really where you just go with the flow. You take everything as it comes without, you know, reacting negatively. And I feel like I've been in and out of that space more so during my time that I've lived in LA, which is about 7 years now. But it was always really inspiring to me to feel that space where when things come at you, you just kind of, you know, what's the solution? without letting things weigh you down. And being in that space is always amazing, but it definitely takes work. And I wrote the song in 2020, and it was just a vibe that just kind of poured out of me one night. Just wrote the whole song, and I didn't kind of get it fully produced until I think about 2 years later. And I think it'll always be like a special song because it was like the first single of Silver Lining. And I think it's probably the song that people are waiting for me to play when I do a show. So it's kind of cool. Yeah.
And knowing that that song has had much success in your career, you know, how do you feel like that song has impacted the lives of people? Because, when you had that big hit, I mean, that must have been very special for you and must have been a great feeling.
I just really love to hear that people tell me that it makes them happy. Or if I see a comment on YouTube that somebody says, this is my jam, or, I listen, like I've heard people have told me, there was one lady who came up to me and said, my husband listens to your song every single day. And I'm just like, dang, wow. And then he was, when I saw him, it's like he was, trying to hold back from crying. And he just said to me, every day I go on a run and I just play that song. I play that song, it just makes me feel good. And it I've heard people say that they play it to start off their day when they're getting ready for work and stuff like that. And I'm just like, man, there's nothing better. I can't really ask for more because that's really the intention to, make people feel good and brighten up people's day. So super glad about that.
Probably have brightened a lot of people's days, which is not only just your music, but also with collaborations as well, learning from the greats. I mean, we've worked with some of the best in the industry. So hard to kind of pick and choose which one has probably been your favorite, whether it's been like Kool in the Gang and just so many people. How has it been working with, the big artists and, what have you learned from that and how has it kind of crafted your career and maybe some of the advice that you've gotten from them?
Mm. I would say that my absolute favorite collaboration will definitely be with Kirk Whalum, just because he has been a huge inspiration to me for a long time. And he continues to inspire me all the time. As a player, as a writer, and as a human, he's just a beautiful soul. So I've been fortunate enough to have played in his band for 6 years and really be immersed in the way that he does things and in his space, and being on stage with him has, always been inspiring. Yeah. And also I would say the other artist that I really enjoyed working with was the late great George Brown from Kool and the Gang. That he's just like a special guy. And being in the studio with him it was always, besides doing the music, it was like you were in a seminar and also in a maybe watching a comedian because he was very funny. But he also taught me, to answer your question about like, what have I learned or what's something I picked up, is he would always just be like, everything's cool. Like it's cool. Like don't worry, don't trip about anything. And every time I left his studio, he'd always make some kind of comment like that. And he also knew how to read palms, which is kind of crazy. Let me look at your hand. Look at my hand, and he'll go, "Oh yeah, yeah, you're gonna be good. Why are you worried about? Don't worry about anything." Or he would just say some stuff to me. But overall, I've been blessed to work with just beautiful people, you know, which is amazing. Just as important because it's not really cool if you sometimes people are really amazing artists, but maybe, you can't really connect with them on a human to human way. So I've been fortunate enough to just be surrounded by beautiful people. So that's been really cool.
Yeah, I mean, to have opportunities like that and just be around people like that, I mean, I'm sure it's been nothing but blessings.
Yeah.
Recognition. I mean, I know that it's meant a lot to you in your career, especially getting noticed, in the Hollywood and Music Media Awards in 2019. What did it feel to get that recognition for you in your career?
That was kind of funny because I actually didn't even know that that was happening. Um, that was with a guy named Ralph Johnson from Earth, Wind and Fire. So I featured on one of his songs playing lead guitar. And it's funny because I just kind of found out that those awards were happening and that my name was, up right next to Ralph's. I wasn't even at the awards ceremony because I didn't really know, but music and media, that's like super dope. It's always been something that I've been interested in and still am. So I feel like it's just aligned with all the things that I want to do because I'd love to have my music and films as well.
Music and media. Okay. Well, I gotta ask you, I mean, what do you like about the music and media side of things? I know it's different, but
hmm Well, I think like, music can just, it's like without music, there's so many things that you couldn't do. You couldn't do a wedding, you couldn't do a funeral. It just gives off so many things that even words can't say, even if it's like an instrumental piece. It's like you can you can express so much through music. So I think I've always been interested in it. It's a really kind of fascinating thing to me, watching a scene and listening to what music they placed behind that particular scene. It's really cool. And then also sometimes it's like, when there's a particular song as the like if it's a show or something, it's like the same song that always plays. It's like, oh yeah, you're getting ready for like this immersive experience you're about to have. And it's like sight, sound, you know, your senses. It's like getting your senses ready. So it's really cool.
is there a favorite song besides Vortex that you've you'd love to record? Is there a favorite song you have that you
I have to think about that one. That I love to record, or you mean that's on my album, or just any?
Yeah, I mean, has there been a favorite song that, oh man, this was such an incredible song to record besides having the success from Vortex?
Have to think about that one. Let me see. I would say that there's a song on my album called All the Way, which I feel like, well, some of my songs, when I write them, they just kind of feel like everything just like pours out in that moment. And then there's some songs that I'll write the verse and the hook, and then over the next few days, I'll write the next verse. And maybe some songs is like I'll write like a verse, chorus, and like a month later, I'll write a bridge to it or something like that. But it's always like really dope when the whole song just presents itself like in one sitting. So that was one of those moments for me where I just wrote the whole song. I was just in my studio and just everything just came out. And yeah, just sounds a lot of the parts that I produced on the time of writing the song are still a part of the song that you hear on the album. And I always I kind of like when songs are like that because sometimes when you go through the production process, you can have a song and then it can morph into like something else, or it can like something else is added in the drums that kind of changes the vibe, but it's better or whatever. But then some songs, they've just kind of come out and the essence of them still just stays like just the way it was created. And that's definitely one of those songs that I have a few of those on the album actually that just, yeah, they just kind of came out and stayed in the same essence. Those are probably always going to be like my favorites, those types of compositions. Yeah.
I got to ask you, what's next for you? What are some of the future goals? Do you have any planned collaborations or people that you want to collaborate with? And when people look back on seeing you perform or just hearing your music, what do you hope that listeners feel from experiencing you live and just experiencing just the music that you have overall?
Hmm. I hope that people can always feel uplifted and feel good vibes. But I also would really hope that people can feel evolution and elevation within myself. And I hope that that can inspire people. Because my next album is definitely going to be different to Silver Lining. And when you hear it, you'll hear I may have given a few hints away earlier on when speaking about genres. So that will that it's going to be a little different. And so I don't even really want to be the same, you know, certain things, yes, but I always want to continue to evolve and to experiment. And the other part of your question is what's next, and that is album number 2 is next. That's what I'm working on currently. And I'm not 100% sure on the collaborations, but there is at least one collaboration that's going to be happening on this album, but I'm still trying to make that happen, so I won't speak about it yet. And there's also another collaboration that's going to happen, which I also won't speak about yet. Something I have learned from like a previous question you asked about, what would you, I think it was something about what would you have liked to have known? So something just came to mind is to not, I feel like I've been offered a lot of, oh, hey, this is going to happen. Or like, let's have this meeting. And, I even had a meeting with someone from EMI in France. That's an example for you. Turns out it was really nothing, you know, but it's like prior to that, when that person presented that to me, it sounds insane. Someone says, hey, I've got a meeting with you, meeting set up for you with someone from EMI. And then you kind of just go, oh, dang, okay. But what I've definitely learned is like, if you had to come up to me tomorrow and tell me like, oh, hey, tomorrow we have a meeting with Sony or Universal, Warner Brothers or whatever, I'm just gonna be like, okay. I'm not gonna get excited. I'm not, and it's not that I'm pessimistic at all. It's just that these things happen all the time, you know? So that's funny. That made me laugh. But yeah, that would be that thing, is to just stay grounded and kind of neutral with a lot of things. That's something that I have I still get really excited sometimes. Like there is a collaboration, going back to the collaboration, there's something that's like really exciting coming up for me. And I can feel that it's going to happen. But in general, I'll just keep it low key with a lot of those things. But yeah, I'm working on the album. I'm quite well into it. So I don't know exactly when it's going to come out, but most likely at the end of the year. But I just, when it's ready, it'll come out. That's really how I feel.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to your new album and the differences on what it's going to be like. And I'm sure everybody's going to be excited. I know I'm going to be excited for it. And let me just say this. I'm so proud of you and your career and how you've been able to share your music to the world. I'm definitely happy that we're able to get this interview. I'm looking forward to seeing your performance August in Hawaii. It's such a pleasure to interview you, and I'm wishing you all the best and continued success.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
And that concludes another conversation with Justin. You can reach Justin Baptiz on any of his social media handles listed here. So, until we meet again, remember, it's Baptiz by Fire.